Okay, today I'm going to make an example create project for you. This is to demonstrate the process of doing the create project, making the program, recording the program, and answering the questions. It's important to note that because this is an example, you are not allowed to do a program exactly like this for your project to turn into College Board. So I'm going to have the cat draw some shapes in our little screen. First I need to add the pin. And I'm going to start the program when we click the start flag. Then we can set our pin color. Doesn't really matter what it is. I'm going to set mine to blue. If you'd like to set the pin size to make a thicker line, you can do that as well. I'm going to set mine to 3. And let's go ahead and see what that looks like. I'm going to put the pin down. Then I'm just going to have him move 100 steps. That line looks okay. So now each time I click this, I'm going to want to erase that. So let's go back to pen and do erase all at the beginning. Looks like I'm going to want to reset him to a position, but we will do that in a little bit. All right, let's start with drawing a triangle. So to draw a triangle, we're going to want him to move a certain amount of space. So we'll say 100. And then we're going to want him to turn. We'll pick a turn, and a lot of students will say, well, a triangle has 180 degrees. If you divide that by 3, each of these should be 60. So we'll take this and when we run that, we'll see that we get half of a hexagon. So if I were to say go into paint, draw a line that kind of matches those, we'll notice that the 60 degrees that we're turning is here, 60. But if I was making a triangle, the turn is actually this part here, which would be 120. And then again here, 120, and then here, 120. We'll notice that all of those add up to 360. So we need to go all the way around our 360-degree circle. So it's really going to be the number of sides divided from 360. So 360 divided by number of sides will give us our angle. So that's 120. So if I change these to 120, I should get my triangle, except that he's upside down. So now when I click, I'm going to want to reset him. So I want him to point in direction 90 so that he's facing the right. My triangle's kind of pointing down instead of up, so instead of turning clockwise, I'm going to change all of these to counterclockwise. Now our size is kind of small, so let's make this a little larger. 300, 300, 300. That seems to be an okay size there. I probably want the cat to always start in the same position. Fortunately, the go-to is set to his current position, so I can just put this here. And if I move him off to the side and click it, he's going to draw from that same spot every time. Now, if I also wanted him to draw a square, I would have to basically rewrite this part of code again, except with different numbers for a square. So instead of doing that, we're going to make a block that accepts one input. I'm going to call this draw shape, and we're going to put sides as our variable. Alright, so when we draw our shape, we're going to basically want to do this part. Except that every shape is going to do this a different number of times. So instead of doing move, turn, move, turn, move, turn, what we should do is move, turn, and repeat that for the number of sides. So let's get rid of those extra ones, and let's add a repeat. So let's go to Control, find a repeat, and we're going to want to repeat the number of sides turns. Then we can put these in here, and to test it, we're going to do a draw shape 3 and make sure that it draws the triangle. Now if I put a 4, that's not going to work for a square because we don't have the right angle. So now our turn needs to be changed. So instead of it being just a number, that's going to have to be a mathematical operator. So let's go to divide. And we determined earlier that that was actually 360 divided by our number of sides. So if we try that again, we should get a square. And we'll notice that the square, since there's more sides, ends up being larger than the triangle. And we're going to go up to size 9. So if I did that and tested it, we'll see that that doesn't fit on the screen at all. So what we're going to have to do is this 300 is going to need to be smaller. Now the 300 worked okay for the triangle, but just like our angle, we want that to become a smaller number based on the number of sides. So to get 300, it looks like we might be able to do 900 divided by the number of sides. So let's try that. 900 divided by sides. That looks like 9 fits. If I go to triangle, that looks like it fits. Try 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. That's a little bit on the edge, so maybe we want to move it a little bit to the right and a little bit down. So instead of this minus 143, minus 107, we'll just move them down and to the right. And we'll see that that's minus 89, 119. So minus 89, tap minus 119. And let's try that. That looks okay. And the triangle still looks okay. Possibly a little bit left. Let's move it back a little bit. Try minus 100. That seems not too far left for the nonagon. Go back to the triangle. That's not too far to the right. It's kind of a balance in the middle there. So that seems like an okay point. Alright, so if we look at what we've done so far, we have this algorithm to determine how far we move to draw a side. We have a second algorithm that determines how much we should turn for a corner. Combine that with this logic algorithm to determine the number of drawings and turns we should do for our shape, and all three of those algorithms combine to make our entire draw shape algorithm. So that should be good enough to answer our question, our number 3, that's about algorithms. Draw shape is also an abstraction. We can use that to answer our question, our number 4. One other thing I'd like to do is in the program be able to determine what shape is going to be drawn. So to do that, I'm going to add some numbers at the bottom. So I'm going to add some sprites. We'll add a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, and a 9. And I'm just going to spread those out on the bottom so that I can see them all. So now we're going to either need to shrink all of our numbers or adjust our triangle. Instead of changing 7 different things, I'm just going to adjust the triangle. So I'm going to go back to the cat. I'm going to change my y value to be slightly higher. We'll try minus 65. That's probably a little too high, so we'll do minus 80, minus 90. Alright, that still fits on the screen, but it's above our numbers. Let's try 9. That is too high, so I'm actually going to have to shrink the size a little bit. So instead of 900, let's try 800. Okay, that appears to fit. Triangle still looks okay, so that means everything in the middle, like 5 or 6, should be fine as well. Now to make this look better, I'm going to take my cat sprite and go to looks, and I'm going to hide him. So now when a shape is drawn, the cat doesn't cover it up. Now I need each of these numbers to be able to respond to the number and draw it. So I'm going to need to create a variable. We'll call it numSides. Make sure it's for all sprites so that the numbers can change it and that the cat who is actually drawing the shape can see it. Then we're going to take that variable numSides, and that's going to be what we draw. So right now nothing will happen because we have 0 as our numSides. So now we need to be able to set numSides by each of our sprites. Let's go to 3. We're going to go events when this sprite is clicked. What we want to do is we want to set number of sides. So let's go back to variables. Set numSides to 3. Now you might ask, why not just do a draw shapes 3 right here when the 3 is clicked? For this program, that could actually work, but just in case I wanted to expand it later to do other things, having the number of sides available outside of here is a good idea. So instead, I'm going to have it send a message back to the cat and tell it it's time to draw. So we're going to broadcast a message. We'll call it draw now. All right, so I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to 4, paste it. The only thing I need to do is change it to 4, 5. Let's go to 6. Go to 7. Go to 8. And then 9. Ideally, you would test one of them before you copied and pasted it to everything, so you don't have to go back and change it 7 times, but I'm pretty sure this will work. Now we'll do a when I receive a draw now, I should call draw shape num sides. I'm going to need something else, but let's go ahead and run that first so we can see what that looks like. So let's click on the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8, and the 9 to see them all work. So we'll see that erase all that we have here when we click our flag should probably also be inside of the draw now. So when we receive the draw now, we can erase everything and then do the draw number of sides. So run that, click the 3, 4, 5, and so on, and we'll see that they all work. There's only a couple other minor things I might want to clean up. So one of them is when I click the start button, I see the little dot because of the pin down. So I might actually want to move the pin down to the draw now so that it doesn't show up whenever I click here. One other thing you might want to do, the other thing we may want to do is put some of this information inside of the draw now, because if we don't click the flag to start the program and instead we just click the number 7, it may not work right. So let's refresh this and see what happens. So it appears to have saved the position of the cat, but not the pin size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these things, move them over to draw now so that they're set every time. Don't even need the when flag is clicked anymore. Now when I click any of the numbers, it should draw that shape and have a consistent size. And even if I were to refresh the page, click our numbers and see that everything works okay. So you'll see that this was a pretty short program, not terribly complicated. I probably put more stuff in here than we actually needed to get the program finished. And with this, I should be able to answer all of the questions that College Board has for us.